Faces Unmasked is a podcast of candid conversations that explore the intricate layers of our unique identities, worth, and value. I'm Lauren.
I'm Paige.
I'm Kim. Let's unmask.
All right. Hello, everybody. We're back. We're back with another True Faces chat. So today we're looking at honoring a rest day, like a Sabbath day, and also stoic mind control. So, woo! I'm
Or
really
mindset.
excited. Or mindset. Yeah.
Mind control.
Mind control. That's
We could put that as the title and really get some clicks.
there you go.
Okay.
Well, that was the title of the Spotify
What's it?
thing. So that's why that's why I wrote it down. But we were definitely talking
That's funny.
about mind because it is mind control. You have control of your mind. So that's what stoic mind is that you are aware and you actively practice controlling your mind and what you think. And so that's what, I mean, it is literally controlling your mind kind of, because that's what we have the power of. And in the little Spotify video, motivational video, or whatever it is I was listening to this morning, they even said that, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. Dang it. I do this all the time.
It's okay. Just pause.
Yeah. But during the episode that I was listening to, they were talking about, the stoic mind controlling your thoughts and whatnot, and that it's almost like insanity if you don't create peace for yourself because you have the control to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that was interesting when...
Yeah, I really liked when they talked about that because it was essentially the circumstances around you can be what they might be, but you ultimately hold the control over how you react to them.
Mm-hmm.
And no one else and nothing else can control that. And I feel like we've talked about that even on this show a few times. And how if you don't have peace, if you allow yourself to get pulled in any direction from that, it's kind of insanity because you hold the control to be able to react in one way or another. And yeah, I think that was really, really good too. I found that, it was like a 3-minute.
Yeah, it was a 3-minute little,
yeah. It wasn't very long, but I found it really interesting because I have often called myself a stoic. Did you know that? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I love that word too. Like when I heard the video yesterday, or the blurb, I like that word because it is a blurb. It's not like a whole video.
Yeah,
it's just a little, because the playlist is just a playlist of motivational things. So I really like listening to it because it puts my mind in a completely different situation or mindset every time I listen to it. But yeah, you can continue on with what you were saying. I forgot again.
No, it's interesting because I have often referred to myself as a stoic.
Yes.
But it's mostly because, I don't tend to get excitable about things. I tend to be fairly even-keeled. Like, if I'm super excited, you might realize it because I do get a little more animated. But have you ever seen me, jumping up and down excited?
No.
Like, my most excited, you'll know what it is. It's like, whoa, this is awesome. And that's about the height of where I go. But also, my really low lows don't tend to be, super low swinging either. I tend to be more like this, just not really, not really high peaks and not really low valleys. And it's not that I don't feel things. It is just that I tend to not want to hang there. Like, I don't want to hang in the super extremes. And it has come through its self-control. Like, it is because I don't want to stay there and I want to be able to operate how I usually operate, essentially. And so it's funny that oftentimes I would say, well, I'm just a stoic. Like, just heads up, know that I'm not going to get excited because I'm kind of stoic.
No, I like it though, because I'm, at least right now, you can always work because you have the control of it. But right now I feel like I'm in a place where my highs and lows are very high, swinging, they're not as consistent. They're swinging definitely back and forth. But so to say, I am a stoic almost helps me because most of the time I'm usually very excited or I'm very down. It's hard for me to stay in the middle. So practicing that almost like when I do get in those places of sadness or joy, just reminding myself like I am a stoic. I control my thoughts, I control my feelings, and I can stay more even course,
Yeah.
That's rejuvenating.
Yeah, I think it's not even so much about not having feelings or not having those extreme thoughts, but visually in my mind, I was just picturing it like this. So if you think about a pendulum swinging back and forth, right? Like there is a center point that where everything is balanced, and then it swings all the way over to the side, and then it swings back to center, and then it swings all the way over to the other side. And I think those side swings are the extremes. And I think the difference between like having the super high peaks and the low valleys is like you are the pendulum. And so you're swinging all the way over to the side. You may even back out, and then you'll swing all the way over to the other side. And for me, what I was visualizing is I tend to stay mostly in the center, but I will reach all the way to the side. So it's not like I don't have those feelings or those thoughts. And then I will reach all the way to the other side. But essentially most of myself will stay more in the center. Does that make sense?
I think
so. I just don't have my whole self go there.
Yeah.
And I don't have my whole self go the other way.
People watching you aren't getting whiplash.
That's
seeing your emotions.
probably true. Although if you talk to my husband, he might disagree.
Well, he gets to see you more.
He sees the most extremes of all the things.
Well,
but I think in general, that's how I feel about it. But also, I don't know that I think there's anything wrong with having, like, bringing your whole self into that. Because I think there is a freedom in that too. And being able to just feel the things and then be recentered and then feel the things. You know what I mean? So I don't know that I can say I think Stoicism is like the best way, but I certainly relate to it. That's what I will say.
That's awesome.
I can't help but think I have a friend who is an emotional health coach who may actually think, well, I don't want to put that on them, like that they would think this or not, but I wonder if they would think this is a terrible thing or if they would think this is a good and grounded thing.
Oh yeah, like
you know what I mean?
The different pendulum examples.
Yeah.
Or is it just like people handle it differently?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like, is it just personality? Like, what's the big like hoopla? If you're one of those people who feels your feelings, like fall on the floor for 5 minutes. If you feel like fall on the floor for 5 minutes, but being able to have the mind control, the self control, to not stay there. Like have your little pity party for 5 minutes. Like it sucks, but being able to get back up and keep going. And not just staying there, not moving forward and dragging other people down with you.
Sure.
So I don't think that there's anything wrong with the highs and the lows, as long as you know how to recenter yourself.
Get back to center.
Get back to center and keep
not
going.
Just stay like
and
completely on that one side.
Exactly. Not just staying there, but yeah. I agree. I didn't even think about that, but I think that's also personality.
Yeah,
I do
sure.
too. And so I suppose, like, I really enjoyed listening to that just because I felt like I could relate so much. And I feel like I'm opposite of a lot of people. Like, I feel like I'm expected to emote more. And so people think I'm just uninterested or uninteresting or not into it or whatever, when in reality I may be super, super engaged. I just don't I don't have an outward reaction in the same way that people who feel outwardly do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I'm explaining that very well. I'm not so reactionary about it, even though I might be really pumped about something. I was telling you this morning about something I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and that was the most excited I've seen you about anything outwardly.
And was I like,
you were still like,
I'm still sitting in my chair like, oh my gosh, and this is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's my hands. They're reaching out.
They're
Do you see them?
They're not out here. They're right here.
They're still here. That's funny. But no, that's really cool. I like that because it's just, I think relating it into everyone being individual because I think I'm more stoic when it comes to like negative emotions. Because I know I'm really good at like just, keeping going through, like everything's fine. But then it's almost like the complete opposite when something good happens. Like I feel I have to overexert the excitement to keep the, negative feelings away. Does that make sense?
So it's almost like an imbalance.
Yes.
So you're like super outward over here and then super closed up over here. Well, and then that almost creates imbalance. So you're stoic on one side and you're like super emotive on the other. It makes me wonder, like, what is the authentic Paige?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because probably both are learned. Like that it's okay to be really excited if you're really excited.
Yeah.
But it's not okay to be really excited if you're really devastated.
Yeah.
But, or maybe you are more that way and you've just learned that if you're excited, you should be super outward about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it does make me wonder, like, what is the natural occurring Paige reaction? Paige in the wild.
Literally, okay, I'm glad you said that because I've been over here debating on bringing this up. But again, another little motivational blurb that I have been listening to over and over and over the last couple days. It's called Beast Mode by Eric Thompson. Have you heard that?
Okay, I've heard of it.
Eric Thompson, I guess, is because my boyfriend knew who he was right away. And so he's like a speaker, motivational speaker with like he was been on tours with like Tony Robbins and stuff. Like, so he has a high level. And so I'm assuming this is a blurb from one of his things at one of his events, but he talks about a lion and a gazelle get up every single day in Africa. Every single day. He's like, do you know this? Every single day, a lion and a gazelle get up. And he's like, now he starts going through all this like beast mode mindset about how a lion sleeps 20 hours a day, right? We all know this. We talk about it all the time because I have that lion mentality. And so he was like, dang, people are telling me to be a lion and they sleep 20 hours a day. Like, all right, that doesn't seem too bad. And he's like, but God bless, they're only up 4 hours a day because if they were up if they were up for 10 or all day, shoot, he's like, no, nothing would be alive in Africa. Like, he's like, they'd be eating all the animals and going to the huts to get the humans. Like, so in that sense, he's like, a lion may need more rest, may need to have a swing of excitement and then time to rest and then a motion of this, time to rest, Whereas like, and then he goes into like the gazelle mindset where he's like, when a gazelle gets up, they gotta start running. Like they gotta be either be the fastest gazelle or be faster than the slowest gazelle. Because for that time they're up and the lions are up for those 4 hours, they're running. And he's like, but this is the catch. So they're running that whole time. So I wonder if that's almost like that more even keel mindset where they're like, we just gotta run, we gotta stay alive, we gotta do what we gotta do. No other emotions can affect it. We just gotta be able to keep that even keel. And then he's like, but then the catch comes with this beast mode mindset. When the lion gets up, the gazelle doesn't just lay down and die. Like he's gonna give him, you gotta work. Like, and so he says this is the beast mode mindset. As most people are gazelles fronting like they're lions because you don't get up and do what you need to do and get it done, but you say you do, or you say you need to, or you say you got to do this. And so this is kind of where that whole mindset comes in. Like, and it can be okay both ways, but you just got to know who you are, what you are, and do what you need to do,
And operate accordingly.
Exactly. So I just thought that was really cool because I was hesitating bringing that up. But since you said Paige in the Wild, it's almost like, is that dramatic me? I just don't feel like it's okay, or I just haven't learned yet to even it out because I definitely resonate with like the lion mentality.
Sure.
And so it was really funny too because in the speech he then like starts talking about how he was homeless. He was a high school dropout. He never met his dad until he was 40 and Tony Robbins was 3 speakers ahead of him. And so while his speech is going, he's like, Tony Robbins, I see you. Like, he's like, you better run, boy. You better run. I'm coming for you. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm like, oh, it just got me so excited. I was like, that's crazy. So thinking about that I think it definitely ties in with this and like finding the rest time, honoring rest time and rest days, and knowing like, hey, even lions, the king of the jungle, like they rest for 20 hours because they're so productive and so powerful when they're up for 4. Mm-hmm. They just sleep the rest of it. And I'm like, it just blows my mind all the time. Mm-hmm. Anything on that?
I like it.
Well, I really liked you asking the question or posing the idea of there's something holding you back on one side. Like, what is the wild page? Like, there's something learned here that you're being able to be free on this side, but you're being held back on this side. Right before she mentioned that, I wrote down, is stoic a boundary or a limitation?
Yeah. It's a good question.
That is a good question.
Because I think easily it could hold you back. Easily it holds me back. Like I've talked about, I'm trying to relearn fun because I like contain myself so much. Do you know what I mean? And so I don't want to like step outside of that and be like wild and free for a minute and have fun because of what it would mean to me or to other people about me or whatever like that. So I do think sometimes it's a limitation, but I also think sometimes it's a boundary or like a safe middle ground, because I also wonder about, so this teaching like really hit you just when you needed it.
Yeah.
Right. But sometimes when you are swinging so heavy on one side, you need something to be able to pull you back to center.
Yeah.
So yes, you need to be able to get back to center, but what if you don't know how? And I think that's where some of these principles come in. The knowing that you have control of your mind, that if you are swung over here, you can bring yourself back to center. You control whether this is affecting you or not. You control whether the feelings dictate how everything else goes. You know what I mean? And I think maybe that is a helpful tool, even if you aren't necessarily like wired to be stoic and can't have fun like me. I'm not saying everybody is
so
a
don't
stoic
use stoic
but
to limit yourself.
Yeah.
But just maybe as a little dotted line.
Yeah.
Sure, a guideline. Like,
or here's a tool in the tool
a
belt.
tool. Guideline tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's this
Instead
principle.
of a harsh, solid line of stay in here, they're dotted.
Yeah.
Like,
that is
it's
a good way
okay
to look.
be you.
Yeah. No,
But being able to just bring yourself back to center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
So do you tend to think that you are more of, I mean, what is the other word? What's the other word?
What?
Words
are hard.
What's the other thing besides stoic? Like, what's the opposite? Are you excitable? Do you think that your natural state is excitable? Both ways. I mean, it doesn't have to be. Or do you think that's your learned state?
I think it's my learned state.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then maybe you are stoic.
I think I'm a lot more even keeled and stoic than I realize. And so then I almost wear it as a badge of honor with the negatives in my life because that's the only time I feel comfortable being stoic, maybe. Because that's also a learned emotion though from sports. Oops. It is, because that's literally what you have to learn to do is if you fail, and when you fail, especially in a sport like softball or baseball, because 90% of it is failure. Right. And so you are taught, and I'm taught from 10 years old, as if that's when I started playing, and I'm taught from 10 years old, don't cry, don't be sad, you got to go suck it up and play. That's what I've learned from 10 years old and now 25. So it's like, that's also could be a learned emotion too.
Right.
As well as the excitement. So it's like, at this point, I don't even know. I don't even know.
It's fair. It's a whole lifetime of stuff to sort through and kind of figure out. So I think that's absolutely fair.
Yeah. But I think I take pride in the stoic idea, but also I know I feel deeply. So I think I like the idea of being able to stay stoic and stay even keel, but then just figuring out how to balance that and still have the highs and lows, like almost like you see like a high and low, but then also have like that even keel through.
Right.
That's kind of where I feel like I want to be
kind of like the reaching I was talking about. Like, there are the lows and there are the highs, and you reach and you feel them, but you're just mostly in the center.
Oh gosh, now I'm like thinking, okay, well now are they individualized or is it that, I'm like, shoot.
There's too many questions.
For sure. Well, it's interesting. There's a guy I follow on Instagram who I think he's brilliant. He says some things that just really make me think and kind of spur me on in my journey. And he's talked a lot about some of these really heavy emotions like grief and shame and those kinds of things, and how sometimes simply letting them out in a big way isn't actually dealing with them, and how important it is to be able to sit with those things and sort through them and deal with them without it becoming a big blow up, I suppose. Like, I'll tell you, I am not someone who, I didn't know this before. I don't think I deal with grief well. Like, I had someone who's super close to me, someone who I would say was my favorite person on the planet, who passed away almost 2 years ago. And I knew it was coming. Like, she was in hospice, and it was a long time up to that. And I mean, I was there for every bit of it. I happened to be away when she passed away. And then I was like, I was oddly fine. Except then all of a sudden, a year and a half later, I'm breaking out in hives all over my body.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm avoiding everything. And it is like, oh, I had really deep grief and I just didn't want to touch it. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not swinging over there.
Exactly.
I'm not going to touch that side. We're staying right here.
You're like, exactly.
Right. But had I actually been emotionally mature in that, I would have said, yep, here's this feeling. Let's sit with it. Let's feel it. Let's deal with it so that we can continue to live life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think stoicism is always that great because there's also avoidance.
Exactly.
It's easy to avoid. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So I go, no, I'm right here in the center. It's fine. I don't have to reach that way. I don't have to reach that way.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm here.
Yeah.
We're fine. Everything's fine. Right?
Yeah.
But I think the important part is to, like, even if your whole self isn't swinging over there, reach out and touch it and allow it to, like, be worked through. Yeah.
Just be there for that moment. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That happened to me yesterday when I was like cleaning. My dog got sick, and so she's, throwing up all over the carpet. But at one point, like at the last one, when I finally realized I had to change my whole schedule for the day, I lost it just for like a moment, but I lost it. And I was like, God, just don't take her from me, because he already took Zachary's dad, and I say that in not in like a mean way, just that I understand he's taken a lot of people that are close to me and a lot of other people, like just a lot of other people that I was around. Like these words didn't come from me. It came from someone else's mouth that I just felt I was like, yeah. So he took Zachary's dad, currently like my grandmother, and then my childhood friend's grandmother, then almost like it's like then a dog, and it's like it's just all these things, and it's like, oh my gosh, like don't do this one. It's like, but I did feel that for a second, and I was able to then still get through what I needed to get through, even though it almost broke me. But so it's almost like I would have normally in the past let it break me and like lost control. So I almost think stoicism in that way is good, where you can stop yourself, understand, and feel it for that second, but then still kind of like, okay, pull it together to get on with what you need to, but you still need to get it all out. I think that's where the point where I'm at, where it's like I get little bits out here and there, but I still have to hold it together enough to get the dog to the vet, or to go to the funeral, or so it's almost like now looking at, okay, we can get it out here and there, but how do we fully get it out, and where do we kind of feel safe getting it out?
Finding the balance of feeling your feelings, but also still being able to move through.
Yes,
because you've got to do both.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
So how do you move forward with it instead of almost making it feel like it's holding you back?
Yeah, because it's like I needed to cry. I needed to get that out. but I also had to go take her to the vet and I had to call the doctor. And it's like, so I can't be bawling when I'm on the phone with these people, or that's at least the idea, I think.
Sure.
But yeah, so that's kind of that's like the point I'm at, where it's like, okay, how can you feel feelings, not have it, like get it out a little bit, not feel like you're holding yourself back, not feeling like but still move forward and like then find those safe places, you know?
I tend to think part of it, and I'm guilty of this, and I'm only just thinking of this now, is how women tend to compartmentalize things?
Yeah.
Like, oh, here's this thing. I'll put it in this chamber. We can close the door. We can open it, whatever. We'll come back to it.
That doesn't sound like the way I think at all.
Really? Truly?
Compartmentalize? Everything's mixed together.
Okay. Well, a lot of people will compartmentalize. I'm someone who compartmentalizes. So it is like, okay, I feel this feeling. I don't have time for this right now. I'll put it there and maybe we'll come back to it. I don't know that I ever come back to it.
Yeah.
Right. But I think what we're talking about is being willing to have it, acknowledge it, carry it with you, and work through it even while you're still functioning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sometimes for me, if I compartmentalize it or if I just like reserve it for one certain place, like I'm not going to feel this until I'm in this one certain safe space, then I'm essentially dividing myself and I'm leaving this part of me. I'm not bringing it with me. So I'm leaving this part of me behind and we'll come back to it.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
And then that separation winds up affecting other things. You know what I mean? Because I'm not being whole, right? Here's this thing that is now part of me and I need to be able to take it with me. But part of that is being able to deal with it in a healthy way. So like I was talking about that guy who's talking about being able to hold some of these really heavy emotions, or you know what I mean? Like, can you hold it and be with it and be okay? Can you have some quiet time and know that, you know what, I feel grief. It's here. I'm okay. I feel it deeply. Deal with some of that and still do what you need to do and still be who you are. Do you know what I mean? Instead of like me just putting it to the side and being like, we may or may not take care of this.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I relate to that.
Yeah.
I relate to that. Yeah. Okay. I think I was thinking about it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But what you're saying now definitely makes sense. I remember us talking about trapped emotions. I think that's exactly what this is. Like you have these emotions that you don't want to deal with. So you grab them, put them somewhere else. And maybe you think you just don't have to deal with it.
Right. That's so wild. It's so wild because think about, I mean, if I'm staying on this thing of like kind of separating parts of yourself out, you know what I mean? How many times have I done this? And how many little pieces of emotions, undealt with, unresolved emotions or situations am I carrying around as just part of me? And I wonder why things aren't functioning right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to get into like woo-woo stuff, but you've heard of like,
Woo-woo.
like an aura, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
you've heard of like an aura. It's like this almost cloud or this glow that would be around a person spiritually or something, right? And then, but I'm thinking about that is in the unified self. But if we have all these little boxes of our pretty little emotions that we save for later, then what is that aura? It's like pixelated.
Yeah.
Then there's just these different pieces of you that aren't actually part of the whole. And you know what? I think I just want to have the whole.
Wow.
You know?
So that's interesting too, because last week I met with my mentor regularly. And so I met with her and we kind of got talking about mindset and stuff. And that ended up being what was holding me back. And she was talking to me about meditation, how I used to be in meditation and had those times of rest where I could be mind, body, soul. And I had gotten out of that. And she said she could tell. She said, the only reason I can tell is because you have an aura and a confidence around you that like is very like appealing, very just like you have something about you, like a glow that. And so I think that's interesting you said that, because she literally said that. And she's like, when you're not, you can tell. When you are, you can tell. And that's all I can, like, that's all I can say. She's like, that's the only advice I have. Get back in your stuff and let's go. And I was like, got it. But have I started doing it? No, but I have. And why? I don't know. But because then I have like this rebellion in me that's like, no, I'll figure it out. I don't have, you understand this. I don't have to do that.
Well, why?
But I'm like, I know it's going to help. So then I'm trying to just pivot it. And instead of doing it how I used to do it, I'm trying to find a new way of doing it where I do start feeling go, 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 go. Again, for example, yesterday, because I'm noticing these things, I was at Aldi and I didn't even think I was being go, 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 but that's how I had been all day. And by the time I got to the register, I was like throwing everything up there and she was just waiting. And I was like, oh, sorry. Again, why did I say sorry? We talk about that all the time. And she was like, honey, you're fine. Just take a breath. And I was like, kind of like, am I being that worked? Because in my head, I was like, I didn't think I was that worked up. And I was like, dang, take a breath. Like, I need to take a breath. What the? Like, it caught me. I was like, I'm not living as my full self. So I'm like, wow, I was very proud of myself that I caught it. Because then, and even when my mentor did it too, I caught it and I felt myself relax. Like right away, I was like, aha, that's it. So almost like, it can hold you back a lot and may not even realize it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think this is like the perfect little segue into us talking about rest.
Oh, yeah, true. I forgot about that. Yeah.
I'm like, this goes in like perfectly.
Yeah.
Totally didn't plan it. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's one reason rest is so important, because, well, that kind of gives you a allotted time to go and sit with some of the stuff that you can't really deal with when you're trying to go do stuff.
Exactly.
But if you have a set time that is for rest, whatever that rest looks like that day or that week, whenever you have that time. Some days it might just be take a nap. Some days it might be, I need to just sit and, I don't know, soak with the Lord. I don't know. And some days it might be, I need to feel some feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. Because then it's like, it almost gets me into like a whole nother mindset of like, okay, resting and like, well, does it look the same every day or does it look different every day? You know, and then I get into that because I'm an organizer.
Anything looks the same every day.
Yeah.
When it comes to life.
I feel like that and like saying rest or what is it? Like rest is, I've kind of lost my train of thought. Like almost like it's easy. Like it's easier said than done. You know, I always think that because I'm like, I know it's so easy to say like rest for 2 hours a day. So then it equals a whole day, or rest one day during the week. Like it sounds so easy, but then it's like I get to that point and for whatever reason, it's so hard. So it's like, why is it like, why do we have this idea of it being so hard?
Why is rest a chore?
Yeah. Like I actually feel anxious when I rest.
I know. It's because truly I believe that our society has taught us that it is shameful to be resting. It is lazy to be resting. And I don't think that's the case. I think it is mandated by the Creator who also took a day to rest. Like it is literally in the commandments, right? He said, you must do this. And if we're made in his image and he also takes a rest day, don't you think there's probably some benefit in the rest day? I'm not actually having attitude with you. I'm sorry.
No, I love your attitude. You're say yes.
Well, I just really think, I mean, there's a principle here
it is,
and it's built in.
Innately.
It's innate.
She doesn't say the word innate anymore, so she made me say it.
But it is built into us. And it's like, it's one of those, I would even say a technology that we have suppressed and we've started even poo-pooing as though it shows weakness when really it is the strength. You know what I mean? Because as much as there is the do, and there's so many obligations you have to do and there's so many things to get done, we were created and we have to have a we have to set aside time to just be.
Mm-hmm.
We have to get back to who we are,
Mm-hmm.
which is not what we do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's why it's so important, is because then it gets you recentered into, oh, this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So like we were talking about, so if you miss a task, if you have just like completely flubbed up on something, you don't then go, oh, this was a failure, I am a failure.
Mm-hmm.
No, you have this time built in where, yes, there was a failure. I am still worthy. I am still valuable. I am still me. I am still a son of God. I am still worthy. I am still all of these things and able to move on, instead of going, well, because I'm only doing and I'm going, this last happening is now going to define how I move forward. You know what I mean? And who I am going forward. No, you've set aside time to be who you are, and then you can outwork with tasks. And whether they fail or succeed is irrelevant to who you are. And I think that's the value in the rest, is getting back to the be.
That's good.
I love that. I love that. And I mean, how many things in the kingdom are opposite of what
The world does.
the world does? So the world says, no, you've got to grind, you've got to go, you've got to keep moving, you've got to just do. And the Lord says, be.
Yep.
So which one are we going to listen to?
Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, and then the do flows from the be.
Yeah,
Right.
it does.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
people have got
super
that
important.
flipped. Yeah, so many have got that flipped. They're like, no, if I do, then I can rest.
Right.
Maybe.
But I feel like the
Right.
rest
If
never
I feel
comes
like I can.
when I do.
Right.
It never comes, you know?
I know. So I think,
Until I pass out on the bed.
right. So you need to be intentional about it. And just sleeping isn't necessarily resting.
Yeah.
Right.
Because there is a decompression that happens, right? So we get so tightly wound, right? You get stressed. I don't know if you ever to me, stress feels like a tangled up ball of thread. Like it is like, ugh, it's almost chaotic, right? And when you can rest and simply be, consciously be, I think there is a loosening of that. You know, you can probably feel yourself like, oh, I'm stressed. And if you think about resting, or if you just allow yourself to go there for a second, you'll feel your shoulders drop and you'll feel yourself start to relax a little bit. And some of that tightly wound state just starts to loosen. And I think that's why it's really important, because we'll get so wound around what we do that we forget who we are. You know, I also have to say, and there are different opinions on this, but based on what has happened with me and people around me, I have a sister who has been observing Sabbath, so the day of rest, for years now. And it is just like the Jewish people do. It is sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday. And it is intentional day of rest. It's not doing dishes. It's not vacuuming. It's not cleaning the house. It's not cooking the meals. It is like intentional rest for the whole family. And for years, because she was like, the Lord spoke to her about doing this, like, you have to do this. And so I have also sought on that, like, oh, if that's what he says for her, it must be for me too. And I've never been led to the day of rest. But what I have been led to in a very strong way is observing rest throughout the day. But I think that when God showed us how to do it, it was the seventh day, right? So it was 1 out of 7. And that's what a Saturday Sabbath would be. But I think you can also take Sabbath during the day. And we were calculating earlier. So if you sleep 8 hours a day, which I do not, but if you do, ideally, I hope you do. If you sleep 8 hours a day, taking a seventh of your day would be about 2 hours and 20 minutes in your waking hours to rest. So that doesn't mean grinding from the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed. And there have been so many, I wouldn't say all business leaders, there have been so many thought leaders and so many business leaders that I have heard that if you're not grinding, you're not doing it right. And essentially every moment is a moment or an opportunity to work, which sure, it can be. But I don't think that's what we're made for. And I think that makes it way too easy for us to slip into the do and out of the be. So if you can even take in a day, right? Maybe it is the hour after you wake up and it's the hour before you go to bed. I don't know what it is for you. It might be in the middle. I don't know. But if you can take some time to just decompress and just intentionally rest, sit with the things you need to sit with. Maybe sit with the Lord. Maybe just sit with yourself. Maybe sit with your family who you love so much. You know what I mean? But find the way to rest. And it's interesting because Scripture, the only thing in Scripture that says you should strive for anything, it's rest. It's not strive to do good. It's not strive to be godly. It's not strive for joy. It's not strive for love. It is strive for rest.
Because he knew that would be really hard.
Because he knew it would be really hard. And what is indicative of striving? Hard work. So if you need to work to get to rest, then work to get to rest. Like really fight for it. Fight for that rest because it's important. And again, if even the Creator did it, there has to be technology that's built in that is so necessary for us. So why aren't we using it? And it doesn't mean be lazy and forget all of your responsibilities for all of your life. That's not what I'm saying, and that is not my recommendation. But it is being intentionally like recentered and connected with yourself. I think our cell phones get in the way of rest all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Like I will pretend like I'm resting when I'm on my cell phone, but you know what? My brain is like disengaged from life even. Like, can you be present? You know, also I'm a future thinker, so being present is hard for me.
It's hard.
Right. But that's part of resting too, is can I be in this moment?
Being intentional in the rest. There is no rest in disassociation. Being disconnected, that is not the same thing as true rest.
Right.
You have to be intentional about it.
It's an interesting thing. I would say one of the best ways to start is meditation. Like if you don't know how to rest, if you don't know how to just be with yourself, just be with the Lord, I would meditate. So find something to focus on, I would say with the Lord, and see where he leads you from there. But even if it is just like, I am at rest, I am at peace. You are my rest, you are my peace. You know, like if it is just even saying this back and forth to him and even maybe allowing him to say it back to you to get yourself into, okay, I can be whole. You know?
Yeah.
I think it can be a really powerful thing. So I'm going to step off my soapbox. And
No, that was great.
I love it.
I love
Something
that.
I wrote down earlier is that there needs to be Sabbath in the grind. Find Sabbath in the grind.
Yeah.
And they can go together.
Absolutely.
They should go together. Actually, they should go together.
Did you know, I don't know a ton about this, but did you know that even in the Bible, and I don't know if they still do it, but in the Jewish culture in the Bible, every seventh year was the year of Jubilee.
Yeah.
And it was a year off, and they didn't grow their crops, and they didn't do all of that thing. So it is like grand scale Sabbath.
Dang.
It is weekly scale Sabbath. I don't know if they did daily or not because I'm not that learned in Jewish culture, but isn't that interesting? So every seventh year was the year of Jubilee.
And a whole, like, what did they, do you know what they, so was it basically just like crops and stuff like that? Or what did they?
That's the extent of what I know.
Okay.
I'm really
That's
sorry.
okay.
You should look it up.
I do not know. Okay.
I can't even pretend like I know. So
No, that's
sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
No, we're good.
I like
That's
how
fun.
you pointed out, Lauren, there's no rest in disassociation. Because I think sometimes I will seclude, I'll retreat, I'll retract and hide and use that as an excuse to rest when really I'm just hiding. I can go rest and still be with nature, with the world, with other people. And it doesn't have to seem like a chore. So that's going to help me a lot. Like in moments where, because, it's already hard for me to rest. So now if I'm thinking I'm resting and being by myself and secluding myself, now I know, no, when I'm resting, it's also being with everything and everyone around me as well.
How many times have you doom scrolled for 2 hours and came out like refreshed?
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Never, ever.
And yet that's what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like turning it off, but I don't think rest is turning it off. I think rest is connecting like further,
Yeah.
I think true rest comes from connecting with the Father.
Yeah. I have to tell you, I was thinking about a few years ago when I was going through this wild training with learning how to rest. There was one moment, like I was in like seclusion learning how to rest, and the Lord was always like, just know this is practice. When you go home into your regular life, you're still going to have to practice this. Like this is going to be the outworking. And I remember having it tested one day, like I'm doing the dishes and I'm like grumbly and I'm like, I hate this.
Oh,
this is
yeah.
stupid.
Is that like your
why,
inner
why
voice?
did nobody rinse this dish? And like I'm just grumbly, like it is work. And I had that sweet little gentle nudge, like you're supposed to rest. Like you're supposed to be operating from a place of rest. And that simple little reminder allowed me to shift my mindset. And you know what? I'm fine. I am a son of God and I am beloved and I'm favored and I'm doing the dishes and it's fine. And I was fine. And then I did the dishes in rest. So this is why I would say, I don't know that there's some big prescription of rest. Like you can do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. And I know that other people might disagree with me on that. From my experience, it really has to do with the state of your being, right?
I agree.
Are you striving? Are you grinding? Are you like eking it out? Is this just another task? Is this just another thing?
So, for example, like I'm relating right now because we talked about it with kind of how the Lord already kind of set me up for my day to maybe rest today. That's kind of the thought I was thinking. And so automatically, what do I start thinking? Okay, well, you got this to do. You didn't do this yesterday because you put it off. And then you got this to do and you got this to do. So I'm like, no, but what can I do? Or what if I just go home and just be? Because then the first thing that came to my head was, okay, maybe that would look like work to someone, but filling orders. Like I just got inventory and I love packaging orders and like writing the cards and shipping them, but that doesn't feel like work to me. What feels like work is like trying to get it all done in one day so I get it to them quick enough. Like, no, actually sitting there and just kind of like packaging it up and giving thought to all the details. What I've been told is a waste of time is actually me being creative and me just being and enjoying.
Well, it's also passing on blessing.
Yeah.
Because you writing out little notes to people can be very life-bringing.
And I find so much joy in
it
those.
Sounds like it is, like it gives life to you, so why not do it? But also, it's going to go to somebody, and somebody's going to see one of those notes and be like, I haven't heard a nice thing all day, and this just brightened my day. You know what I mean? Like, I think that when you are able to have joy in doing it, and it brings you life, then you can pass that on to others, and it will do the same for them. But also, if you're doing it in the grind, boy, are those words empty when they're received. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not like the Lord can't bless them and then bless the person through it, but
there's
already some energy coming with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's 100% true. Yeah, that's good. But so I just thought that was a good example because I was thinking in my head, that is me resting. It's just getting to go in there and having the time I need. It doesn't matter. I'm not on a schedule where I can just be creative and do what I want to do, And that may not look like resting to someone else, but that is resting to me because I don't have to think. I can throw on something, you know, like a TV show or something. So,
or music. You could actually go and like snuggle with your dog who's been sick.
Exactly.
And like just
be
exactly there for her.
And that's what I did last night too, because, you know, we got home and automatically what did I think? Like, I haven't done any work. It was 9:00 when I looked at the clock and I was like, I need to do some work. And then I stopped myself and I was like, no, I am slaying here and cuddling this dog because I was like, I was at the point, I was like, this is ridiculous. I need to just be able to be.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I feel like today too. So those are just personal examples for kind of what we were talking about.
That's really good. I love it. Earlier we were talking, before we were recording, we were talking a little bit about this and like kind of not knowing how or when to turn off work mode.
Yeah.
And like be intentional about being in the rest. And I suggested to you, like maybe have something, maybe it's your blazer or it's just having shoes on or it's having on a certain bracelet or something. But like when you go to work, put on the bracelet. And then when you're done, take off the bracelet. And if your bracelet's not on, it is not time for work. You know what I mean? Like if you need to be that intentional about it, I think you absolutely can hang that up. Like you're hanging up the work for the day.
Yeah.
Right? It's time to rest. And sorry, I don't have my bracelet on and it's not time to work. But then if you have to put it back on, if you're going to work, put it back on. And then you'll start seeing this physical, like I am physically stepping back into work or I am physically stepping out and into rest. And that might be something that is helpful for mindset shift.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
I'm just sharing it. I know that we already talked about
it,
but
for sure,
I didn't know if it would help
others.
I didn't know if it would help someone else like be able to figure out that like tangible feeling like shift of one from one to the other.
Especially when you are in the grind and everything just mixes together. There's just so much to do. Like it's just all jumbled together. So then you can physically see it, do it, touch it, smell it, feel it, whatever you do. Like it's there and it's in the system. So
it's so true.
And there's sorry, go ahead.
Nope.
Okay. So I mean, there's ways you can step in and out of it.
Yeah.
Is there a way for them to coexist? Being able to live in the rest.
Yes. It's a mindset.
It's a mindset.
It is a mindset.
So you could start with that and then
it is absolutely practice.
Yes. So you might start with just stepping in and out. That's the practical step one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Have
like my
set time.
doing the dishes.
Right. That's
like
what I was thinking.
It was
like,
work.
how can we live and do the things that we need to get done while still living in a place of rest?
Right. I'm the vessel of rest or I'm the vessel of work. It's not actually the task. It is me. And so if I am in a state of rest and I'm still doing, if I can maintain that rest, then it is still rest. Because all of my nervous system is going to be receiving that as rest. But I mean, I could also pretend. Like I could be like, no, I'm resting. And inwardly still be like, that tightly wound ball of stress, right? I think only you can tell what it is. And you know when you're there and when you're not. But it is a practice. And I think absolutely you can. I think first you have to know what that state of rest feels like. And it's not just sleeping. Like it really is a mindset. It is out of striving. It is out of the do and into the be. And if you can start doing tasks, still being in that same headspace, in that same mindset, and that same posture with your body even, because your body recognizes work. It really, really recognizes work. But if you can get your whole self to start recognizing the state of rest first and then still outworking some of the other things, absolutely you can be doing work while in the state of rest.
And I think it's not being concerned with the outcome of whatever you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's a big part too.
Yeah. Don't have anxiety about the future of it. Just, do what you need to do and allow the outcome.
Yeah.
It's good.
Really good.
Yeah, these are good.
Cool. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Yeah, go rest and go be. Woo.
That's it for today. Thanks for listening. Keep up with us on this unmasking journey by joining us every Friday.
Like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram. This episode is sponsored by Podcast Solutions and podcasttables.shop.
As always, we're glad you're here. See you next week.
Boom, done.